So Ubisoft had their Star Wars Outlaws panel at San Diego Comic-Con just yesterday, and today I'm going to be breaking down everything that we learned at the panel, not only from the behind the scenes video that they uploaded to their YouTube channel, but also from some live tweets from those who were there. If you guys are interested in Star Wars Outlaws, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. I'll be covering any and all news leading up to the launch of the game. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. Now, firstly, like I said, they did upload a pretty much behind the scenes video, and that is up on Ubisoft's channel if you want to check that out. But I'll pretty much just quickly break down what we learned in that behind the scenes video. Something I found actually really interesting is that Lucasfilm were the ones to actually suggest the era between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. That is a very, very interesting thing to hear, because generally that is not how it goes. Usually it's going to be the opposite, where the actual dev team or even the publisher would be pitching all of the information to Lucasfilm, but Lucasfilm actually suggested to Massive Entertainment that that's the era where they should set the game, which is very, very interesting. They thought it seemed perfect, as obviously the war was at its height, meaning that Outlaws sort of had their chance to thrive, and that is obviously the focus of this game. So it really does seem like a perfect fit, and it's probably a really good thing that Lucasfilm suggested that era for them to focus on. Now, we also learned that there are existing syndicates that will be in the game. We already kind of knew that with the Pike Syndicate, but there may be more syndicates that we know of that will feature in the game, and there is also going to be some pretty much brand new syndicates that have been made for the game. They also said that they focused on making a galaxy that feels lived in. There's a really good bit in the behind the scenes video on the YouTube channel where they kind of went a little bit in depth into how they tried to make it feel lived in, and for me personally, I think that is a very important thing for a game like this. Any open world game that doesn't feel like the actual cities and stuff like that are alive, it just feels very empty, and it feels like the game is essentially very shallow. So that is definitely a very important thing, and I'm glad they did focus on that so much. Now, the last cool bit of information that we got from the behind the scenes video is that huge mountain that we've actually seen in some of the art, there is a whole city built into the side of it. So that's just not something that's off in the distance or something you can just go through and it's just like a natural mountain or something like that. It is like this big rock formation that has literally got a whole city built into the side of it. So that is apparently going to be one of the central points on Toshara. It's apparently the biggest city on the planet, and that is definitely going to be a very, very cool location to be able to visit as Kay. Now, outside of the behind the scenes video, Azatru was also there. If you guys don't know Azatru, he is a fellow Star Wars gaming YouTuber, and he was at the actual San Diego Comic-Con and was live tweeting some of the details. So I'm going to be going through some of his tweets, and big shout out to Azatru for all of this info, because a lot of this stuff wouldn't really get out to the community without people who were there actually live tweeting it. Something very interesting that they mentioned is that just last week some mocap was recorded for Jabba the Hutt. Now, they didn't come out straight and say that, but they said for someone who speaks Huttese, which is very obviously going to be Jabba the Hutt. They've confirmed he is in the game, so that is very interesting, and I guess that is also a good look into where the game is at. If they're still doing mocap, obviously the game is still a very long way away. It's not like this is going to be launching very early in 2024. I'm still sticking with the fact that I dare say the game will probably be launching later in the year. Now, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed, because mocap can be done down the line. It could even be like a reshoot for a cutscene or something like that, so it doesn't confirm that, but just from my guess anyway, if they are still doing mocap, I would imagine that kind of points at the game still being sort of in mid-development. It's not really close to being finished or anything like that. Something very brutal that I did not expect to see in these tweets is that Nyx can actually claw eyes out. That is something I did not ever expect to hear, if I'm going to be honest, but that is something that was tweeted, so they obviously covered that on the panel, and I found that to be very interesting. Azatru then also tweeted that there is going to be virtual tourism, and it's something that they've sort of put into the game that is going to allow us to really, I guess, feel what these planets will be like. So it says here that if you want to know how far it is from the moisture farms to Mos Eisley, obviously talking about Tatooine, you can actually venture that distance. So the whole planet, maybe not the whole planet, but like the whole planet as we know it, seems like it's going to be able to be pretty much ventured across. So you can literally go from where Luke lives to Mos Eisley without having to have any loading screens or anything like that. I found that to be very interesting. Now, again, take that with a grain of salt. When I say the whole planet, that doesn't mean we are literally going to be able to do a whole lap of the entire planet. I'm sure there will be boundaries, but at least in terms of the planet that we know of, in terms of the locations on Tatooine that we know as fans, it seems like pretty much all of that is going to be explorable, and that is definitely very exciting. Now, I touched on earlier about the new crime syndicates, and as Drew mentions here that one of the new crime syndicates is the Ashiga clan. They're a hive-based clan on Kijimi, so that that right there is actual confirmation that Kijimi is the planet that we thought it was. And in this tweet, you can see a bit of concept art. So that is pretty cool. There is a brand new syndicate that's going to be in the game called the Ashiga clan. And then his very next tweet actually says the Ashiga clan are very good at detecting people sneaking around. They have heightened senses. They're also vicious compared to the other syndicates. There's another tweet here that says the cantinas feature NPCs who are looking for hands to take on some illegal work. You'll run into a lot of different people. Now, getting sort of back to what I mentioned earlier about the worlds feeling lived in, this is very important for that, is that when you go into a cantina, it seems as though not everyone's just going to be sort of in the background, almost in a similar way to how it was in Jedi Survivor. It seems like you'll be able to go up and actually have conversations with all of the people, maybe not every single person, but a very large majority of people who are in these cantinas, and you can get jobs from them. You can get little side quests and stuff like that. So that is definitely a very important thing for a game like this, and it is very good to hear. He also mentioned Kay's ship, which is officially called the Trailblazer. He said there was new art that was being shown on screen, and it actually says here that this is her home. You can walk around in it. Bug ND5 about his jacket. There are hidden secrets. It's from the Republic era, and there are fun details for us to find. Sort of seems pretty similar in that sense to the Stinger Mantis, where it's obviously something we can actually go onto. It is Cal and the crew's sort of home in that sense, and so it's cool that we're getting another ship like that in Star Wars. Now, the very last tweet we have to go through here is just a bit of an obscure one, really, but he says there is a predator on Toshara. If you have fear of frogs, beware. Also, you'll be able to try a variety of food across the galaxy. Now, something I'm wondering about that, when he says about a predator on Toshara, and then he mentions fear of frogs. Surely this could not be the Ogdo species. Obviously, that is just jumping the gun. We have absolutely no idea. But when I think of frogs in Star Wars, and especially when it's phrased, there is a predator on Toshara, it makes me think, I wonder if there could actually be an Ogdo, or even multiple Ogdos, which would actually be really cool. I kind of doubt it because it's obviously not the same company. It would be, in a way, a little bit weird having something that Respawn made and then having it in a Ubisoft game. That being said, it's all kind of done through Lucasfilm, so it is definitely possible. And I personally think that would be a really cool touch to have something that was introduced in a Respawn game and then actually getting it in another game from another company. That would be really cool, and almost like them giving a little nod to Respawn. So I hope it is Ogdo, but obviously whether it is or not, we'll just have to wait and see. But that is pretty much it for what we learned at San Diego Comic-Con. There was a lot of stuff to dissect there. Nothing was like super crazy information, no release dates or anything like that just yet, but definitely a lot of cool, interesting information. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on it, and I'll be going over any more news right here on the channel. So if you guys are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any Star Wars Outlaws content. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.